Hello, and welcome to my Mage Guide. Today, we're going to scratch the surface of Spellslinger within the spec of Arcane Mage. If you've been following my channel, I focus on specs that are not very commonplace, specs that demand a different kind of attention and focus. I realized Spellslinger will be that spec for me, as it does not rely on a ramp to produce damage. It feels completely natural and very similar to the current spec and playstyle of Dragonflight. Blizzard finally made a spec just for me. Long overdue, in my opinion. So, I chose Spellslinger as a Mythic Plus build because it synergizes well with several talents that produce DPS conducive to a Mythic environment. And here are the talents I chose. Some of this may seem foreign and confusing, but worry not, we are going to only be focused on one talent, Magi's Spark. To do this, we will have to delve into the inner sanctum of my mind to extrapolate a rotation based primarily on this talent. Don't worry, my mind is a safe place to everyone but me. This is a good time to mention that beta is just that. It isn't the final product, and anything you see here is subject to change. Now, with that possible copyright strike out of the way, let's look at the rotation rundown. Let's eliminate the confusion and keep things simple, and focus on Magi's Spark. Magi's Spark, or Spark for short, is triggered when you cast Touch of the Magi, or Touch. And Spark requires you to cast 3 spells within the Touch's duration. So, we now enter a minigame, and if you know me, I love minigames. So here it asks us to cast Barrage, Blast, and Missiles within this touch window to trigger Nether Munitions, which we will touch on later. First, we will cast Barrage before we cast Touch, so that Touch can capture Barrage. If that sounds confusing, let's create a little analogy. What you are seeing now is my voice as rendered by an audio visualizer. Sound moves slower than light, so your eyes are seeing what I'm saying before you hear what I'm saying. The point I'm trying to make is that we can consider touch like light and sound like barrage. Barrage has a travel time that is longer than Touch of the Magi. So when we cast Barrage, then immediately cast Touch, the Barrage travels to the mob that then has Touch on it waiting to capture the Barrage. So that satisfies one of the requirements of our minigame. Secondly, we will cast Arcane Orb. We do this for 2 reasons. The first is because of a hero talent called Controlled Instincts, which buffs your splinters, which we are about to produce several of. And secondly, because we want it on cooldown, because the splinters that it produced has a chance to reset its cooldown with another hero talent called Spellfire Teachings. Thirdly, we cast Arcane Surge, which will proc even more splinters and give us our big damage buff along with clear casting, which will be consumed by arcane missiles. In so doing, we have satisfied our second spark requirement, and consuming clear casting will give us nether precision. We will then consume these stacks of nether precision by casting Presence of Mind, then Arcane Blast twice, which now satisfies our final spark minigame requirement, triggering Nether Munitions, which is an AoE debuff. Also, this will trigger Splintering Sorcery. After that, we will cast Arcane Orb. This is done to increase our splinter count, as well as ensure we don't overcap on Arcane Orb charges, because we will be shifting power right after that orb. The shifting power also produces splinters through shifting shards, and sets you up for a beautiful phase of AoE afterwards. Keep in mind, You'll want to shifting power while within your Arcane Surge window, so about 5 seconds left on the buff. You don't want to cut it too close, as the splinters produced by shifting power have a travel time, and Arcane Surge will capture each wave of splinters instead of snapshotting all the splinters produced by the entire channeled cast. Don't let all the steps get you confused. It really does feel quite natural. See, my mind is a safe place. If you've enjoyed this little snippet of what the Arcane Spellslinger is capable of, I will have a full guide on the spec upon release, so stay tuned to more beta content, as it will be my primary but not only focus until the release of War Within. If you've been enjoying this content, let me know with a like or a sub, which helps guide this channel's content. And remember, complex things are formed from simple things. So let's keep on keeping it simple.